I look at Mikal Bridges' offensive game and the way he plays, and it does slightly remind me of Kevin Durant. Mikal Bridges might be the future of Brooklyn. When Mikal Bridges was traded to the Brooklyn Nets, I think we all just saw him as an asset. I think most casual fans just saw Mikal Bridges as a solid defensive player and he was going to be a good addition to Brooklyn. But he wasn't going to be anything special. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Mikal Bridges overnight has not only become the #1 option on the Brooklyn Nets, but has become a player that could become an all-star. As I said earlier, a lot of people knew Mikal Bridges just because of his defense. And of course, he's still a good defender. He's one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. But if you were paying attention to the Suns this year, you knew something was different on the offensive side. The Phoenix Suns had a lot of injuries this year, which is why they kind of struggled for a period of time. And it seems like there was a point where Mikal Bridges kind of became the #1 option on the team. And for a majority of the season, he was definitely the #2 option when Book wasn't hurt. As one of the more prominent scorers on Phoenix, he was averaging about 17 points per game, while shooting 46% from the field and shooting about 38% from 3. And as if he already wasn't having a career high season, it seems like the moment he got to Brooklyn, everything changed. Now, I kind of want to talk about a misconception going on with Mikal Bridges that I'm not really a big fan of. A lot of people haven't seen the way Mikal Bridges has been playing in Brooklyn, and they're saying stuff like, oh, Phoenix didn't know what they had, or Phoenix was holding Mikal Bridges back. For one, I think Phoenix has done a very good job as developing him as a player. Also, the problem with that logic is that Mikal Bridges, for the most part, was a #2, #3 scorer on this team. And while I had a feeling that if he did become the #1 option, he might be a good scorer, the unfortunate reality is that a player like Devin Booker is not going to be the #2 option to a guy like Mikal Bridges. But I remember looking back at some games, and I really thought a lot of the Suns' offense was also revolving around Mikal Bridges. Hence why this season he seems like a totally different player. Also, the Phoenix didn't know what they had is also a complete lie. The reason why this Kevin Durant trade was not happening during the summer is because of Mikal Bridges. The Phoenix Suns did not want to give up Mikal Bridges. They knew how special of a player he was, and they knew if he just developed even more as a player, he was going to be great. But Matt Bishop, being a brand new owner trying to make a splash, he would obviously make that trade in a heartbeat. And I'm not mad at the trade, but I'm definitely going to miss Mikal Bridges as a player. Okay, so far I've told you how he did in Phoenix this year and that he was having some career high numbers. But in Brooklyn, this man has become a totally different player. Mikal Bridges has played 11 games for the Brooklyn Nets. In those 11 games, he's averaging 25 points per game while shooting 51% from the field and 49% from 3. Yes, you heard that right. Mikal Bridges is shooting 49% from 3, and he's taking about 5 threes per game. One of my theories about the points per game average going up was just that he was taking a lot more shots and he wasn't as efficient. One of the things I love about scorers is when they're so efficient. For example, a guy like Kevin Durant, I love the fact that he's so efficient when he scores. The fact that a guy like Kevin Durant can take like 15 shots and score 30 points and only miss like 3 shots is amazing to me. And if you really wanted to dissect the stats, you could argue that Mikal Bridges is more efficient as a guy being the #1 option. Also, I don't know how many of you guys know this, but Mikal Bridges is shooting 92% from the free throw line. Mind you, he's taking about 5 free throws per game. I wasn't really sure where I wanted to fit that in the video, but I feel like I had to say that because that is insane. Now, something that I thought was interesting is the perception that people had of the Brooklyn Nets. When Kyrie Irving got traded and then Kevin Durant got traded, I think everyone assumed that the Brooklyn Nets were just going to do a rebuild. I mean, come on, they don't have any all-stars. Sure, they have some young guys and some veterans, but that's not enough to win. I think we just all assumed that the Brooklyn Nets were going to start losing and that they were not going to make the playoffs. And while the Eastern Conference definitely has its contenders like the Brooklyn Nets and the Boston Celtics, I'm not going to doubt the Brooklyn Nets just yet. Because when I talked about the Kevin Durant trade and looking at what Phoenix gave up, I said that the Brooklyn Nets had a chance to be a solid team. I also looked at the Kyrie trade and I saw they got some pretty good assets from that. If I'm being honest, I did expect a little bit of a struggle and I expected the Nets to kind of fall in the standings, but I could definitely see them as a 5 or 6 seed. Also, I know this is a Mikal Bridges video, but can someone tell me why Cam Thomas had 3 40-point games straight and is now getting DNPs? Either the Brooklyn Nets do not know how to manage their star players, or there's a chance that Brooklyn's cooking something. Last season, one of the reasons why Mikal Bridges was so popular as a player is because of his defense. Everyone started to notice that Mikal Bridges was guarding the other team's best player, and there is a reason why Phoenix had one of the best defenses in the NBA last year. Now, of course, I do imagine with an offensive workload that is more than he's had before, I do imagine that his defensive presence is going to go down a little bit. I've started to notice that when Mikal Bridges does more on offense, his defensive role will kind of decrease a little bit, which I think is pretty self-explanatory because he's doing a lot on offense and a lot on defense. It's just not going to end well. But don't get it twisted about Mikal Bridges. On the offensive side, he might be good, but on defense, well, I think he's still one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. I've started to see this joke on NBA Twitter that the Suns traded Kevin Durant for Kevin Durant, referencing Mikal Bridges. Obviously, I don't think anyone everyone's trying to compare Kevin Durant to Mikal Bridges, but I do notice their playstyle is a little similar. While I do think Mikal Bridges is a better defender, I look at their shot creation, their mid-range game, and even their three-point game, and I see they have pretty similar tendencies. Minus the three-point shooting, because Kevin Durant is not shooting like 49% from three. I look at Mikal Bridges' offensive game and the way he plays, and it does slightly remind me of Kevin Durant. I'll say it again, the shot creation, the mid-range game, the way he's able to get to his spot is amazing to me. In this Brooklyn Nets offense, I've started to realize that offensive players that are smart and are talented, they're gonna get their opportunity. A coach like Jack Vaughn does not mind these young stars trying to find their spot. According to cleantheglass.com, Mikal Bridges is top 10 in usage rate as a wing player. For reference, last season Mikal Bridges had a 13.7 usage rate, which was the highest in his career, and in his time as Brooklyn, he's only doubled that. Something else that I noticed is that he's top 10 in turnover percentage for wing players as well. So not only is Mikal Bridges having more of an impact on the offensive side, not only is he taking more shots and making more of them, but he's also very smart with the ball. It's starting to click in my mind that the Brooklyn Nets might have just got a more efficient version of Kevin Durant, and also a version that's younger. Now, I know some people are going to take that out of context, but I think a lot of you get what I'm trying to say. If the Brooklyn Nets use Mikal Bridges in the right way and he continues to be the #1 option on offense, and they continue to let him to run the offense through him and just let him be his own player, I see there being a real possibility that Mikal Bridges not only becomes an official star player, but an all-star. Now, Mikal Bridges is only 26 years old, and the fact that he's finally learning his place in the NBA and on this team could be something scary. I know some people thought Mikal Bridges was just a system player, but I think we are now starting to learn that's not true. Something that has fascinated me this year is the opportunity in the NBA. And what I mean by that is players that weren't good on their former teams, they get traded, but they get a new opportunity and they thrive. A really good example of this is Lauri Markkanen. On the Chicago Bulls and the Cleveland Cavaliers, Lauri Markkanen was just a solid player. He was nothing special, and he never really got the opportunity to thrive like we thought he could. I mean, you'd be literally lying if you thought Lauri Markkanen was going to be an all-star level player who was actually an all-star, especially when he was in Cleveland and in Chicago. And now Lauri Markkanen joins a tanking Utah team, at least we thought they were tanking, but no, Lauri Markkanen's not going to let that happen. He went from averaging 15 points per game last year to now 25 points per game. And the Utah Jazz, while they definitely fell as a team compared to last year, they're actually in a chance to make the play-in. Mind you, this is a team that everyone thought was just going to tank for Victor Wembanyama. I look at Lauri Markkanen and I think Mikal Bridges was traded during the summer and the Suns got Kevin Durant to start the year off. I really do think that Lauri Markkanen and Mikal Bridges would be virtually the same as far as stats go. I look at both of their situations, and now we're starting to realize that Mikal could be the next Lauri Markkanen in that situation. Now, I personally think he'll be better than Lauri Markkanen, but you cannot look at this opportunity and not be fascinated. As a Phoenix Suns fan, I was definitely hurt to see Mikal Bridges go, but I am so happy he's thriving in Brooklyn. Mikal Bridges is one hell of a player, and I'm finally happy that everyone is finally starting to see how good this guy is. I know Phoenix did a lot to help develop Mikal Bridges, but with a guy like Jack Vaughn, I think he's only going to help Mikal Bridges even more. This might be a hot take, and I want to see a debate in the comment section below, but do you guys think in the next 3 years that Mikal Bridges will be an all-star? And I don't mean an all-star like Jrue Holiday. I mean an all-star that is consistently being picked. Because the small forward position is such a weird position, and I truly do believe Mikal Bridges could definitely make the all-star team, but I also think heading into the playoffs that the Brooklyn Nets could be a scary young dark horse team. I'm not going to say I think they're going to win the championship because Phoenix is obviously going to do that, but nah, I think they're going to scare some teams off. I see a situation where Brooklyn wins a series versus a team that they're not supposed to beat, but that could just be a hot take. Regardless, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you do leave a like on this and subscribe to the channel. We're damn near about to hit 12K. Y'all are fucking insane, man, like for real. And as always, Mikal, can you please come back to Phoenix and bring Cam Johnson with you, bro? Come on.
You kidding, man? Fuck that bitch till the day I die. 220 on the dash, I got bloody red eyes. I got the bag coming in, finna give me eyes.